Welcome to Commander Citadel with me, your host, Elgin. Today I bring you a spicy EDH deck tech on Etali Primal Conqueror. Enjoy the show. Let's get right into it. Etali Primal Conqueror is a 7-drop, 7/7. We got the lucky 7s already. Love it. Legendary creature, Elder Dinosaur with Trample End. When Etali Primal Conqueror enters the battlefield, each player exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card. You may cast any number of spells from among the non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. You could also pay 9 in a Pharynxian green, transform Etali, activate only as a sorcery. The backside is Etali Primal Sickness. 11/11, trample indestructible. Whenever Etali Primal Sickness deals combat damage to a player, they get that many poison counters. This is a one-shot KO to any player. It resembles a Blightsteel because it is a Blightsteel, only in your command zone. Now, as fun as instantly taking a player out of the game sounds, this option should be your last resort. Oftentimes, you're not going to use this side because the front side is so menacing. It doesn't need to focus on only one player. All your opponents are in trouble at the same time. It only takes one Etali trigger to make you the arch enemy, so why not embrace that role? The key to this deck is early ramp, a turn 2 to 5 Etali, and copy Etali once it's already on the field. Early ramp cards are the obvious and the infamous Mana Crypt and Soul Ring, because we have to have them in there. Birds of Paradise, Delighted Halfling, a new staple in all green decks. A 1-drop creature, 1/2. You can tap it to add colorless or tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell, and that spell can't be countered. Offers great protection to Etali. Then we have Ragavan Nimble Pilfer, another staple in all red decks. We run the best 2-drop sorceries, Rampant Growth, Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, and Into the North. We run 9 basic snow cover lands because of this card. We ain't playing with our ramp here. Goblin Anarchomancer, a 2-drop creature, 2/2. Each spell you cast that's red or green costs 1 less to cast. Wood Elves tutors out of forest from our library into play. Kaldamo's Reach and Cultivate are the same card with a different name. 3-drop sorcery, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. Silvala, Heart of the Wild, a 3-drop 2/3 creature. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power. You can also pay 1 green and tap it. Add X mana in any combination of colors where X is the greatest power among creatures you control, giving you at least 2 mana. Shadow in the Warp, a 3-drop enchantment. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. Whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, Shadow in the Warp deals 2 damage to that player. Cursed Mirror, a 3-drop artifact. You can tap it to add red. It also reads, as Cursed Mirror enters the battlefield, you may have it become a copy of another creature on the battlefield until end of turn, except it has haste. It can ETB as a copy of Etali if it's already on the field, or we could get something juicy like a, Dockside Extortionist. Some fun ramp cards for this deck are Mana Geyser, a 5-drop sorcery. Add 1 red mana to your mana pool for each tap land your opponents control. On average, I get about 9 mana with this card. Easy Etali cast. Open the Way, a 2-drop sorcery with X in its mana cost. X can't be greater than the amount of players in the game. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X land cards. Put those land cards onto the battlefield tapped and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You can ramp up to 4 lands. This is becoming a favorite ramp card of mine. Let's move on to the next level ramp cards. These cards will give us at the latest a turn 4 Etali, assuming you didn't ramp turns 1 and 2 and didn't miss a land. Jeweled Lotus, Mana Vault, Grim Monolith, Basalt Monolith, and Somberwald Sage. They all give you 3 mana to cheat out Etali 3 turns early. Another card that can cheat out Etali 3 turns early and deserves a highlight on this list is Treasonous Ogre, a 4-drop 2/3 creature with Dethrone. Whenever this creature attacks a player with the most life or tied for the most life, put a 1/1 counter on it. And it also has pay 3 life, add 1 red mana to your mana pool. Pay 21 life, for 7 red mana to cast out Etali. You can get this as early as turn 2 with the help of a turn 1 mana crypt or soul ring. 21 life is a heavy cost that is well worth it. Then we have Jessica's Will, another MVP of the list. A 3-drop sorcery, choose one. If you control a commander as you cast a spell, you may choose both. Add 1 red mana for each card in target opponent's hand. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. If the magic gods are on your side, they will bless you with a turn 1 land that can produce red mana, a mana crypt, and Jessica's Will for a turn 1 Etali. I have yet to pull this off and hope to catch it on video one day for the world to see. And let's not forget about Dockside Extortionist, a staple card in all high-power decks. With this deck, the most consistent Etali cast happens on turn 4. If you're enjoying the show, do like, share, subscribe, comment, all that fun stuff. It really does help out the channel. So I kindly ask that you go ahead and do that. Unless you're a bitch. Now that we have Etali out on the field, our next strategy is to copy her. Voyager Staff, a 1-drop artifact. You can pay 2, sacrifice Voyager Staff, remove target creature from the game, return that creature to play under its owner's control at the end turn. It doesn't copy Etali, it blinks Etali, you still get the triggers, and it offers a level of protection. Twin Flame is a 2-drop sorcery that can copy Etali. Each Shimmer is a 3-drop sorcery that can copy Etali. Do note that the Etali copies will die due to the legendary rule, but we still get the ETB triggers from it. That's all we care about anyway. Blade of Cells, a 2-drop artifact equipment. Equipped creature has Myriad. Myriad is whenever it attacks for each opponent other than defending player, you may create a token that's a copy of that creature that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. Exile the tokens at the end of combat. You can equip for 4. This will give us 2 separate Etali triggers. That's 8 spells you can potentially cast this turn. Brutal. Tamer Sabertooth, a 4-drop, 4/3 creature with a 1 colorless and 1 green. You may return another creature you control to his owner's hand. If you do, Tamer Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn. You can bounce Etali back to your hand for a recast, and you can use it as protection in response to someone targeting Etali. Jaxis the Troublemaker, a 4-drop, 2/3 creature with an activated ability, pay 1 red, tap it. Discard a card, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste, and when this creature dies, draw a card. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. It also has a blitz cost of 1 colorless and 1 red. Ortheon, Hero of Lava Brink, a 4-drop, 3/3 legendary creature with 2 abilities. The first one, pay 1 colorless and 1 red, tap it, create a token that's a copy of another target creature you control. It gains haste. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. Pay 9 mana, 6 red, 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 tap it. Create 5 tokens that are copies of another target creature you control. They gain haste. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next end step. Activate only as a sorcery. That's 5 Etali triggers, 20 potential spells. This is absurd. One of the win cons in the deck. Rionia Fire Dancer, a 5-drop, 3/4 creature with, at the beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instant and sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end step. Another mass copy game-winning card. Hellkite Courser, a 6-drop, 6/5 creature with flying. When Hellkite Cursor enters the battlefield, you may put a commander you own from the command zone onto the battlefield. It gains haste, return it to the command zone at the beginning of the next end step. It can cheat out Etali without affecting commander tax. Think of it as a 6-drop Etali. Absolutely beautiful. We have several ways to copy creatures on our field. 2 creatures that love to be copied. Druid Purification, a 4-drop, 2/3 creature. When Druid Purification enters the battlefield, starting with you, each player may choose an artifact or enchantment you don't control. Destroy each permanent chosen this way. It can take out up to 3 targets. Apex Apex Altasaur, a 9-drop 10/10 creature. When Apex Altasaur enters a battlefield, it fights up to one target creature you don't control and has Enrage. Whenever Apex Altasaur is dealt damage, it fights up to one target creature you don't control. It's practically a field wipe for your opponent's weak creatures. Let's go into the surprise section. These are cards that are going to tutor creatures from our library onto our battlefield. Finale of Devastation, a 2-drop sorcery with X in its cost. Search your library and or graveyard for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle it. If X is 10 or more, creatures you control get +X and gain haste until end of turn. Invasion of Ikoria, a 2-drop battle with X in its mana cost. When Invasion of Ikoria enters a battlefield, search your library and or graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle. It also has a backside. Zilortha, Apex of Ikoria. It's a legendary creature dinosaur 8/8 with reach. For each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. It synergizes very well with Etali's Infecticide, but again, this should be last resort. The best creatures to tutor for is either a Dockside for X equals 2 or a Hellkite Courser for X equals 6 if your Etali has been dealt with a few times. Defense of the Hearts, a 4-drop enchantment. During your upkeep, if one of your opponents control 3 or more creatures, sacrifice Defense of the Heart. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards and put those creatures into play. Shuffle your library afterward. You want to cast this card when you know it's going to trigger on your next upkeep. It only gives your opponent 1 turn to find an answer. Another similar and powerful card is Tutoring, a 7-drop sorcery. Choose one. Search your library for up to 2 creature cards, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your library. Or put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Entwine for 2. Choose both if you pay the entwine cost. One of the main lines with these is Rionia and Hellkite. When Hellkite ETBs, you bring out Etali. At the beginning of combat, Rionia triggers, giving you a copy of Etali. This is going to give you a massive leap towards win. Apex Altasaur is another great option. Just clear the board of all their creatures. The other line is a good old Dockside Extortionist and Temur Sabertooth combo. When Dockside enters a battlefield, if you can create at least 3 treasures, you can spam Sabertooth's ability to return Dockside and recast it for infinite mana. With that infinite mana, you can cast Etali, its ETB triggers, then activate Sabertooth's ability to bounce Etali to your hand, cast Etali, and repeat this process until you have exiled all cards in your opponent's libraries. End your turn, and all your opponents lose because they can't draw cards. Bada bing, bada boom. Next up, we have the protection section. Pyroblast, Red Elemental Blast, and Veil of Summer are great 1-drops against counters. Destiny Spinner and Vexing Shusher are great creatures against counters. Rhythm of the Wild is a 3-drop enchantment that makes your Etali uncounterable. The card's name reminds me of that Rhythm of the Night song. This is the rhythm of the night. I have a buddy in my playgroup. Every time someone plays this card, we immediately look up at each other, we lock eyes, and we sing that one verse of the song. We just replace night with wild. Fun times. City of Solitude is a 3-drop enchantment. Each player may play spells and abilities only during his or her turn. If you can't already tell, we are going heavy on anti-blue because blue gives us the most problems. Then we have Blood Moon, all non-basic lands or mountains. This isn't exactly protection, but it does hinder your opponent's plans sometimes, and it makes it harder for them to cast spells against us. Heroic Intervention and Deflecting Swat offer great protection. Cavern of Souls is a land. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. You can tap it, add 1 colorless to your mana pool, or add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type, and that spell can't be countered. Then we have Plaza of Heroes, another land. You could tap it for colorless. You could tap it, add 1 mana of any color, spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell. The third ability is add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control. And the last one, the reason we have it, pay 3, tap it, exile Plaza of Heroes, target legendary creature, gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It will give Etali that last second of protection. For those who insist of Etali's back Infecticide, we added Rogue's Passage. Another land, you can tap it for colorless, or you may pay 4, tap it, target creature can't be blocked this turn. I told you I got you. This deck is stacked with ramp cards at 28, 10 draw cards, and 9 removal spells. The mana curve favors 3 drops a bit more, seeing that several of the key cards are 3 mana. Overall, this deck is extremely powerful. You will be crowned arch enemy if you play it this way. I hope you enjoyed the show. Till next time.